How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about 5 changes to make to your mountain bike to bring it to the next level.
Yes!
So the first thing we're going to be talking about today is how to properly set up your fork and adjust it to your style of riding. For me, out in the desert, with the type of riding I do is hitting big jumps, drops, and going down steep ridges, I need my fork to be stiff enough to take up those big hits and then also soft enough right off the top to eat up those small chunky rocks along the ridges. So we're able to make this fork do what we need it to do by adding a couple things. First being the volume spacers. This fork is allowed to have 7 of them in there. I run 6 personally, and that basically allows it for squishy right off the top, and then it ramps up super hard so that we're not fully bottoming out on those big hits. So next we're going to be moving into air pressure in the fork. I only have 1 air chamber in this fork, and I run 90 psi, which is quite stiff for my weight, but since I'm constantly going through huge compressions, I need that extra support just to not bottom out the fork. So lastly, we're going to be talking about the compression on the fork, and I'm actually running 3 clicks from the hardest compression, and I can bounce between that and my 5 clicks from the hardest based off the exact trail that I'm riding. Alright, so the second thing that we're going to change on your bike is following the suspension theme, and we're going to be changing the rear shock. For mine, I have the RockShox Super Deluxe coil, and there's only a couple things that we can do here. First being, we're going to be changing the coil size. I'm running a 600-pound coil, obviously made for someone a little bit heavier than I am, but that's just going to keep me upright on those big hits. Second off, we're going to be changing the compression over there. We're just also stiffening it up as much as I possibly can. And yet again, once we're up top on the trails, I tend to adjust the compression just a little bit. So if we're riding more like downhill trail stuff, I'll make it a little softer. If we're riding like big jumps, I'll stiffen that up fully. One thing I forgot to mention with the fork as well is we're also slowing down the rebound. That's because if you're coming up on a big hit, if you have a huge compression, you don't want to just boing right back up. We want like a slow rebound so that you don't just get tossed off your bike. It's really important to make the fork and the shock even rebound, just so that, you know, one isn't bucking you more than the other. You just want it super linear. We're moving into change number 3 here, and that's going to be the brake upgrade or just change. And that's one of the most important things to me, because when I'm flying down a mountainside cliff, I want great brake control. I don't want to go flying off any cliffs. So for me, I accomplished this by throwing on some Shimano Saints, but I know there are a lot of other great brake options out there. But you know, if you're riding out on a dirt jump park or anything else, you don't really need something quite as powerful, but just make sure you're running a brake good enough to what you're going to need at the train that you're riding. So change number 4 is a really big one for me, because with doing free ride stuff, I really need just as much space on my handlebars as possible. So if I'm taking off limbs of any sort and getting hands or feet back on, you don't really want anything to catch. So just having no shifter is really awesome for me. So that's why I'm running the SB1 derailleur, single speed, so I don't have to run a shifter. But this can also be very beneficial to your daily trail riding or your racing, because if you want a good consistent platform rather than like one of the lower end derailleurs that will be skipping gears. That being said, you don't really need the highest end electric shifting derailleur, just something that'll get you by pretty solid and consistent. Alright, so the last thing that we're going to be talking about right now is going to be the tire pressure. And that's a huge thing for me, because when I'm out in the desert riding steep stuff, I need that lower tire pressure just to add to that braking control and just grip on the ground. And I honestly change this a lot throughout the day, and whatever dirt we're riding, whatever terrain we're riding. Say if we're riding any jumps, I run it up to like 25, 30 psi just to hold up on the G-force on the lips so that my tires aren't rolling. But that can also translate to you guys when you're out riding trails. You don't want to be running like something super high where you have no control. And when you're out racing, you know, you just change your PSI based off of like the terrain you're riding. That's honestly one thing that took my riding to the next step for sure. Alright, that's going to conclude today's video of 5 changes to make to your mountain bike to bring you to the next level. I hope you guys are able to take a couple things away from today's video. And as always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments section and I'll make sure to get back to them. And if you liked today's video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.